3, 2, 1, and Mayor Craig Thurmond, welcome back onto the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you, Clay?
I'm excited for you to be here, but I'm more excited. I'm 4% more excited about today's guest. She is a former city attorney for Broken Arrow, and she knows more about you than I do, and so I'm excited to have her on so we can ask her the tough questions about what it's like to work with you, sir. So Beth Ann Childs, welcome onto the show. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
So you are an attorney who specializes in the representation of cities and towns. Beth Ann, can you explain what exactly do you do as an attorney? When you're a city attorney, what does your job look like?
You know, it's kind of funny because a couple of years ago, I was doing some interviews for the city of Tulsa. I was serving on a certification panel while they hired municipal attorneys. And one candidate came in and he said, what does an average day look like for you? So we do lots of things. We review contracts. We advise the city council in any boards and trusts like the Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment. Oftentimes we prosecute misdemeanor traffic offenses in municipal court. We handle litigation on behalf of municipalities. We draft ordinances, resolutions, all sorts of complex transactions in a variety of areas. Environmental law. So every day is different.
I find that in every industry, I own different businesses, and like some industries like the hair business, there's some difficult hairstylists to work with. The landscaping business, there's difficult landscapers to work with. There's, everybody knows there's the best and the worst of every. And so you've probably worked with a lot of elected officials. You've seen a lot of people. How would you say is Mayor Craig how would you say he is to work with? Because you've worked directly with him.
I did. He's best plus.
Really?
Absolutely.
And what makes him good to work with as a city attorney?
One of the things that I appreciated most about him is if there was an issue, he would come to me in advance and we would talk through it. So that's important as opposed to trying to play stump the lawyer and ask you questions while you're sitting in the middle of a meeting. The other thing is he listened to my advice. I can't think of a single time during my almost 20 years of knowing him where I would say to him, this is what the law says, or there's a gap in the law here, and it's an area that you really need to be careful for. He always listened.
Now, I'm not asking for specific names at all. And what I am asking for is what sort of behavior have you seen that is the antithesis of this? Because, and again, I'm not looking for the specific city, because I know you've worked with other cities and municipalities, but what kind of behavior could really be destructive? I mean, if you're saying Craig's the best to work with, what kind of behavior could really be destructive when you're working with an elected official?
Well, in fact, as municipal attorneys, sometimes one of the classes that they have on a national level, because I'm actually on the board of directors for the International Municipal Lawyers Association, and one of the classes that you'll see periodically is how to deal with the difficult elected official. And some of the things that tend to be consistent is an individual that won't listen to the advice that you have to give. Now, they don't necessarily have to take it, but at least you want them to listen to it. It's someone that makes things personal against you, someone that tries to undermine processes. So, for example, the state of Oklahoma, if you got a council manager form of government, the elected officials are supposed to work through the city manager. Typically, your more problematic elected officials will circumvent the city manager and go directly to staff that they think can somehow advance their objective. Also, I think that maybe the antithesis is also someone that doesn't have the public good at heart. A lot of times you'll get people that run for council, for a variety of reasons. And the good ones are the ones that are really thoughtful about the future of the city or the town.
Having not spent a whole lot of time with elected officials, what would be another motive that somebody would have for wanting to become an elected official? If they're not looking for the best, if they're not looking out for their citizens and trying to protect their city and make it the best it could be, what reasons would somebody become an elected official?
Well, I can only speculate because I'd rather someone run over me than run for elected office. But ego, sometimes they may have a project that they want to get advanced. Like, for example, in Bethany, we had an elected official. She ran for city council because she really wanted to get a new library. Well, that was a very altruistic goal. But so sometimes it's pet projects, things like that.
Okay, and so you believe that Mayor Craig has been one of the best elected city officials that you've worked with, and we're going to have an election coming up here. Craig, when are you going to be? When is the election for Broken Arrow mayor coming up?
It's April 6th, 2021.
April when again?
6th,
2021.
2021.
And I feel like a lot of people, none of our listeners, of course, but I feel like a lot of people think, voting. I'm busy. Voting, I don't know. I might be at Bass Pro Shop. Voting, when is it again? Oh, I forgot. Voting, doesn't really matter. I think it does matter. And Broken Arrow is one of the fastest growing cities. Mayor Craig, is it now the fastest or one of the fastest growing cities in Broken Arrow?
It's the second fastest growing in the state after Oklahoma City.
The second fastest growing city in the state is Broken Arrow.
Yes.
Okay, Beth Ann, what kind of things could a mayor do to limit, to retard, to stop, or to slow the growth? I mean, what kind of stuff could happen if you get the wrong mayor in Broken Arrow that could really slow down growth?
Well, and you have to remember that the mayor isn't elected as the mayor in Broken Arrow. He's actually elected as a city council member, and then of the 5, they vote to elect the mayor.
Interesting.
Within the body. So that's a little of a different nuance than in some places like Tulsa, for example.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Well, I mean, what kind of things could he do, hypothetically, to really mess up Broken Arrow? Let's say a different mayor was elected and put in charge. What kind of things could they really do to slow down Broken Arrow or to mess it up? Because we're growing there's a lot of factors involved. But what kind of things could a mayor do to really screw it up?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's really important. Because sometimes what elected officials will do is they will become so focused on their own project that they neglect to look at the entire picture. They fail to be forward-looking, and they fail to actually to read the agendas and consider the items that are being discussed. They fail to self-educate on the things that they should be educated on, like the Open Meeting Act, the Open Records Act, economic development restrictions. And I think probably the most destructive behavior is making things personal and getting into verbal disputes or altercations in the public eye, as opposed to attempting to work together professionally with your co-council members.
Hey, now we have another attorney here. We have 2 attorneys in the studio at the same time. Wow. Sue me, sue you, sue everybody. James, you're an attorney.
Yes, sir.
And you come from the Manhattan, right?
That's right.
You just returned from Manhattan, I believe, on Sunday. Am I correct?
That's right. Last night.
How are things in Manhattan? Well, things are rocking in Broken Arrow. I mean, all the parking lots are full. Things are going great in Broken Arrow. How are things in Manhattan?
They're not happening like they're happening in Broken Arrow and in Jenks.
Well, you can't borrow Mayor Craig.
Well, I was going to take him.
No, you can't take him. He's going to stay here. He's staying here. What questions would you have for Beth Ann here about Mayor Craig, his leadership of Broken Arrow? Because obviously you couldn't have 2 more diametrically opposed philosophies of government than Manhattan versus Broken Arrow. So you've lived in Manhattan. You just left Manhattan. So what question would you have?
Well, so I had a question actually that has to do with the rulemaking capacity in the council and the mayoral sort of environment. And this was actually a professional responsibility question that I had for Beth Ann, and it relates to, let's say, so the city is in effect your client, right? If you're a city attorney, isn't that right?
That's
okay.
right.
All right. So I just want to make sure that I got that premise right. And so let's say that the city passed an ordinance that you personally disagreed with? For instance, 18-year-olds had to wear hats or something like that. You just did not agree with it. And then something happened where you would have to represent the city in connection with that ordinance. What would you do, because your personal beliefs and then your professional obligations are kind of at odds?
I think it's kind of interesting because municipal attorneys are very good about tucking things away. And so we try to not ever let our personal opinions about the way things ought to be done. But that's where the counselor at law comes in. So if I saw an issue with an ordinance, I would probably have those conversations with the council members in advance and just point out the pros and cons. But there's a huge difference between whether something is legal and whether or not the municipal attorney agrees with it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. But now, James.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to paint Mayor Craig into a corner. You have an opportunity here to really take the show down to the bottom here. So what question would you have for Mayor Craig Thurmond? The economy's doing well. Things in Broken Arrow are going well. Families feel safe in Broken Arrow. There's a good energy here. You've been Mayor Craig. How long have you been mayor now? How many years?
About 8 years.
8 years.
Been on the council 20.
I've been on the council 20 years. I've personally seen, witnessed Bass Pro Shop move into town. I've seen the downtown develop and take off. I've seen a lot of development, a lot of great things in Broken Arrow. What questions would you have for a man who I consider to be one of the best mayors in Oklahoma?
Great. Okay. Hi, Mayor Craig.
Hi.
So one of the questions that I have is, let's say you get reelected and you take your first day in office after being reelected, and you sit down at your desk. This is after you get your coffee or whatever your routine is. You sit down at your desk, you turn your computer on. What is the first action item that you're going to take? Is it going to make a phone call? Are you going to convene a meeting? Are you going to send an email? What's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, first, us being all volunteers, we don't have a desk. My desk is my truck. So I would, it would really, first action would be whatever we needed to do.
Get a desk?
Right now, I don't have a desk. No. I do for my work, but not for the city. And the right now we're working on innovation districts. So we're really working hard on trying to get that to go forward. So it would probably be something to do with the innovation district, because we're really trying to get that as our next big thing that we're trying to do in Broken Arrow.
Tell us what that thing is as we're wrapping up today's show. What is the innovation district?
The innovation district is an opportunity for schools, for education entities, whether it's OSU, TU, NSU, OU, Broken Arrow Public Schools, Tulsa Technology. All those schools will have an opportunity to train students, and they'll be able to work at companies as interns and learn how to be good employees. But the company has the opportunity to be able to hire those employees once they graduate from whatever education level they're trying to attain, and they can stay right here in Broken Arrow instead of having to go to Dallas, Denver, Kansas City, or somewhere else to find a job. So it'll create good jobs, but it's more innovative, more thought concept, a lot of research and development type firms, a lot of different types of firms will be involved.
Did you come up with this idea yourself, or did you steal Beth Ann's idea?
Well, Beth Ann has supported this idea. She knows about it. I think that the chamber kind of came up with the concept of trying to do this, and we started learning more about it.
Yeah.
We first thought we were going to do this business park type concept,
Yep.
and then we realized innovation districts are the future, and it's a whole area that has housing, that has shops and different and places to eat. So it's a whole district, a whole area, and so our plan is to start with an incubator downtown, and then move to something even larger.
Now, we have time for one more question here. Beth Ann, I want to ask you, because many people are thinking about who to vote for coming up here. Why do you believe the people of Broken Arrow should vote for Mayor Craig Thurmond? I mean, you've known the guy a long time. You've worked with him a long time. You've said he's the best elected official you've ever worked with. Why do you feel like the citizens of Broken Arrow should give their vote to Mayor Craig Thurmond?
He's honest, he's ethical, and he cares about this community more than I think anybody I've ever known.
It's a pretty strong endorsement there, Chief.
That is a good endorsement. Yes, it is.
I tell you what, I have 5 kids. We live in Broken Arrow. We're honored to call you mayor. Thank you for what you're doing for the city each and every week. And I hear that you're still making an outstanding salary. I hear you're in it for the money, Chief. I hear you're making $0 a year to be mayor. Is that still the case?
That's still the case.
You are in it for the money, aren't you? Is it you kind of building up interest over time? Is that the move?
Well, there's really no move. It's just it's a volunteer position, and we have opportunity to make a difference in the community, and no one else has that opportunity, and so we get that opportunity on a daily basis. That's why everyone in the council does it.
That's right. I don't know a lot of people that would do the job, but you do the job. You do the job well, and you do it for the low price of free $99. So thank you, sir. And we're going to end today's show with the boom as we always do. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom.